Hello, welcome to Pareidolia's annual financial review report. I don't really know how to describe this or go with this, as I want to have kind of like a system of record out there for myself, for other entrepreneurs, for potential acquisition purposes, and have it out there. So this is annual review. This is gonna be a little different. This is gonna be a little cut and dry, but the quarterly kind of performance engagement will be more standard. More art house than this cut and dry standard kind of just diving straight into the meat and potatoes, because it essentially just consolidating everything, aggregating everything, and going from 6 months as a sole prop to 6 months as a partnership, still under the banner of an LLC, is kind of or quite interesting and maybe with storytelling. I think that's kind of the angle trying to work around. So just jumping straight in, this is the general highlights. It'll show a summary at the end of this presentation. Total revenue, expenses, income, assets, and equity. Obviously, no debt. I think that's kind of a general consensus or standard viewpoint starting out. But this coming year, or this year specifically, it's more open discussion about borrowing and leveraging up, as owner contributions kind of draining on the pockets per se. So here's revenue, 5,300, expenses 1,100. Our net income's 4,200, 4,300 ish. And then assets and equity equivalent, right? The value of the assets, and cash are essentially the value of the equity, right? And I think breaking that down in the balance sheet will be a thing down here in a few minutes. And it's the general, at least for last year, profit margin 40, almost 80%. Granted, the company barely has any expenses. So just breaking this down as expenses and revenues, just generally speaking, it's all there for you. It'll be shown here in a bit too. I don't know. This is pretty standard. I mean, the breakdown. I think down the road I'll put the percentage breakdown of revenue. I think that was something standard within our the credit analysis course I was in way back a few years ago. So just kind of to break that down, management revenue is going to be top line item, and then investment sales, right? This is your cap gain, short term cap gains, specifically at least with in our case, and then dividends, non-standard. I was dabbling with a bunch of stuff, so having that kind of breakdown. So there was I believe it was materials. It may have been LNG. I don't think there was a stock split, but there's certain quirks out there where if you're buying a certain stock or a certain name or certain foreign equity, you kind of have these different items where you'd expect it, or you'd wish it was a standard dividend thing versus something non-standard or atypical that's taxed differently. Just like the case with other income, which will be from forecast events, which are a whole new world, at least for me, where I come from trading stocks, swing trading and holding long, and that realm where just short-term or long-term cap gains, and now you have all these different, something that makes a tax situation, like a personal tax situation, more sophisticated. Well, I mean, in LLC sense, consult your lawyer or accountants, but I mean, it just kind of passes through, and you're trying to visualize that. And then, just generally speaking, expenses are kind of fun, gimmicky, where hardly saw any commissions or trading commissions, investment expense stuff. However, the this quarter will have kind of reflect that within activity or rolling options. And then like obviously the highest expense stuff will probably be legal fees, but adding on a business partner, you'll see that, and then refiling with your state or whatever. So just breaking down cash flow, you're taking in your revenues from management, whatever. In this case, the cash received from the forecast trading is going straight back in the company. And then just general operating doodads. How else in just general, like funding, visualization. I threw this through Claude just to, like, I had all my numbers, I did all that, I consolidated everything, and just like, well, I've always been more of an Excel person, and having it all visualized for like that is beneficial for non like I'd rather just point at this on an Excel sheet and kind of explain myself versus present it all, and I always find that a little tricky. But so moving forward, just the balance sheet kind of covering the same kind of concept where here's the cash on hand, here's the value of the assets or the investment book, and then here's the total asset value, like our book of assets, and then covering that, right? Owner's equity, retained earnings is kind of a plug for now, where in a sense, or it is cash, right? At least on our end of things, where it's just literally sitting in a checking account. So that's kind of the case on the balance sheet side of things, just looking at it from an operator's viewpoint, and it's finicky, I think, when it comes to like trying to explain that or look at it from like, hey, this is what's going on, and here's like the health of the company. And it's funny because like at least personal experience when it comes to like describing this type, all the financial statements, you're like, well, they all kind of play together. Not totally certain with constructing it, but honestly, at this point, just throw it at Claude. Why? I find the skill valuable, but I don't find the time investment. Right, like one of the first hires I expect is an accountant, or some former banker. Grunt work is grunt work, and it doesn't make sense to be doing the grunt work all the time when, let's say, I'm more of an operator. I'm more of a trader. I want to be doing the trades. I'm more like the fundamental side, or at least for now, I'm chasing price, right? Where that's kind of the realm that I'm within. And then here's just a general visual breakdown of revenues. So obviously, management revenues. This business line that I kind of inherited from, I guess I was doing this personally as an individual for a few years, and then just kind of inheriting that to be a cash flow plug. And then obviously that's going to be retired here, I'm expecting by 2028, maybe 2030. And then obviously the forecast trading or forecast events contracts is another bulk, obviously investment sales and so on, right? Interest is kind of like, we're sitting on cash, you might as well collect interest on it. Here's just a general summary of every item. And that's all. So thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, comment below, ring the bell. Try to do something different here, like just kind of capture the persona of the company, of how we're operating and what we're going for, right? And so obviously Q1 will be coming up. I'll get those numbers in whenever Interactive Brokers posts the monthly report, and then having that and presenting that'll be more art house, and it'll be more entertaining than this cut and dry kind of thing. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, ring the bell, comment below, whatever. I'm available. Just I'd love to build that kind of community from this. So yeah, later.